For more than a half century, they've suppressed the truth about how carbon emissions destabilize the climate and what we need to do to protect ourselves from calamity. Industry scientists and experts testified that the companies knew the burning of fossil fuels caused climate change as early as 1959, the year the first Barbie doll appeared in the United States.
65 years. That's how long oil companies have known they were destroying the planet and how long they've been trying to cover it up. The House Oversight Committee has been investigating this for 3 years, and the report they just released paints a pretty clear picture of how big oil has been lying to the world for decades.
Instead of acting like Paul Revere and sounding the alarm about climate change, they acted like Maleficent, the evil fairy, in Sleeping Beauty, and cursed everyone to try to go to sleep for 100 years.
The report does show how oil companies like Shell, Chevron, and ExxonMobil have suppressed science that showed evidence of climate change and pushed confusing and misleading messaging that treated it like, I don't know, an uncertainty. Now, the House and Senate Democrats organized a hearing this week to bring attention to the report's findings. And in spite of all this evidence, you still have Republicans spouting the same old lies.
One of the interesting statements in there is the obvious that CO2 is plant food. If you want a green planet, you need some CO2. But anyway, you ought to take a look at that. You know, by the way, I'm not a climate change denier. I'm just not a climate change alarmist.
Fully going after big oil has always been a touchy subject for lawmakers, including some establishment Democrats. But the sheer number of years that went into this report and the undeniable evidence in its findings makes this moment feel different. There are a few options on the table, like potential legislation.
As you know, these companies, the biggest companies, have profited really greatly off of this. And the concept behind here actually is those who polluted the most should pay the most for cleaning up the damage and harm they've done.
Senator Chris Van Hollen's bill, the Polluters Pay Climate Fund Act, would use science to figure out the exact amount of CO2 and methane emissions specific companies are responsible for and make them pay their share to fund the transition to renewable energy. Another option is a little bit more old school, going after big oil in court with a federal lawsuit using the same legal tactics that dealt a huge blow to big tobacco. Sharon Eubanks was a DOJ attorney who won that landmark suit back in 2006.
Money's great, don't get me wrong. That could be another part of any end to a case where you're talking about what the damages or the remedies would be. But getting a company to change the way it did business, that's what we got out of tobacco. The federal government RICO statute, of course, has provisions that we used in the tobacco litigation and was a way to bring all of the claims under the same umbrella.
If you were Attorney General of the United States, would you proceed in that direction?
I would, yes. No question.
The report has provided proof for what many have known all along. The climate crisis is real, and big oil spent half a century covering it up.